Hi everyone and welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Today we're working on our Miss Karen project. You recall this is an applique project that we've been working on, doing some pieces so far, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. We'll be right back after this. Well, hi everyone, and we are here today to talk about Miss Karen again. Now we've transferred our design onto our background. We've made some pieces for our applique, and we've even made some vines. And I think perhaps in the last show we talked a little bit about placement of vines and other pieces and how we need to think through how they need to go onto our design in order to place them appropriately. And I think you can see from my overhead camera that I have a couple of pieces placed here on the background, and these have been glued on. Now, we have not covered yet how to make the flower pieces for this, and that will be one of our next shows. But I just wanted to do something today that kind of pushed our vision of this project through. I know that sometimes it's really great to have everything together and then be able to put it on here and be done with it, but sometimes that can get a little frustrating because you find that you're spinning your wheels a lot getting pieces ready and you don't see any progress. So we're going to do that just a little bit today, and then we're going to come back and cover those flower pieces and then also this scallop circle in the middle. So we have these on, and I think we talked about before how on this design I put in these two pieces first. Those are the bottom layer, and then this piece on top. I just stuck my finger. Let's hope that doesn't bleed and get on our design. But at this point now, to this you could apply the flower piece, and you can apply the leaves and then the buds on the end. But what I want to show you today is we're going to start with one side of these leaves on here and probably show you a little bit of how we have to adjust just a little bit. We've talked about that a little bit before. So what we're going to need here is we're going to need, let's work on this side over here. We'll push our design up just a little bit. I think that'll be a little easier to see. And we're going to need one each of our right 1, right 2, and right 3. And I believe you recall that we separated these, and right is going to be here. We separated these by the pattern that we used. So give me just a minute to get those out. 3 is the one closest to the flower head. Okay, so we have these 3 leaves that we're going to put here. Now some of these leaves are a little bit pointier on one end or the other, and I think that the rounder edge needs to go closest down, and then the pointy edge maybe further up. So if we do that, this is the way they should go. Now for these leaves, they have 2 little tails on it. We're going to start up here at the tail at the end, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit. We want to trim them off, but we want to make sure we don't trim them too much. So I'm going to trim this just about like this. And then I'm going to use some glue to first of all hold that tail down, and then we will use some glue when we put it on. So I'm going to put that first leaf down. And I can come in here. Let me see, what kind of tool do I want to use? I think I'm going to use this little thread picker. So I don't see my little screwdriver anywhere, but I want to be careful because this is very delicate. So we're going to put this part down here. And we're going to lift the edge of that vine up. And we want to kind of follow the markings on our background where that should be. And you can see we're able to put that right where it needs to be. I will call your attention, though, to the fact that here's one and here's the other one. So they are really close. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, just so they have a little more room between them. So we've got that one down there. We stuck that tail underneath. There's a little bit of it showing here. And when we stitch that down, we will push that up under. This is not the best tool because you poke it down and it pulls it right back up, which is just what it's meant to do. Okay, and then we will tuck this in when we sew as well, and it will just tuck back behind it. I think that's going to be something that's better left when it's sewed in place. So now we're going to do the same thing with this one. This has got a really long tail, so we are going to trim that. And then I'm going to try to slip one fabric under the other. Our starch has held up really well on this. It's holding its position well. And I don't see any problem with that. Just a couple of dots of glue around the outside. And we're going to look at what the position of that is. And we may need to adjust that just down slightly to get it to fit since we moved this one down. And with this, you've got a little piece here sticking out. I'm just going to stick that pin there for just a minute and see if it holds. And then the next green leaf we have, we will also trim that slightly. A stiletto would be a great tool to have right about now. Okay, we've tucked that in. And if these little tails come apart and stick out, remember you can always sew those under when you're sewing it on. Okay, and then this one goes right here. And we're going to have to swing that one out just a little bit. And then we're going to want to tuck that under as well. And I put that right there in that intersection. Now, if our iron was up and hot, we could touch those and it would set that glue. So now we put those in place, and I want to set one of the little buds in place as well, so you can see that. And if you recall, we've already put these together, so we just need to apply enough glue to attach both pieces. And I always put my glue in the area where you folded the fabric under, so you've got 2 layers of fabric between your eye and the glue. Okay, we've got enough marks here that we know right where that needs to go. Now, we've not covered this, but I wanted to show you what it's going to look like when we are ready to put everything in place. We'll be putting down this yellow piece. These are just the test pieces. They're not the actual finished pieces. And this one still has its template in it, but it should go right. Right about there. So once we line that up, I can only see one side, but once we line that up, that's going to be more or less the way this flower is going to look. The buds, we're going to have 2 more leaves here, and then we'll have a repeat over here. And that's going to be the corner design of that. Now, like I said, we're going to come back, we're going to talk about making these 3 pieces, and we're also going to talk about making this piece, the scalloped circle in the center. The one nice thing about this particular pattern, and we've talked about this before, is that there aren't a lot of different pieces, but there's more than one use for every particular piece. So you've got this repeat, and that does help you begin to learn how to do it and get that reinforcement of doing it over and over again. Excuse me. And then I have taken this center piece, and we made these petals before, and I went ahead and cut out a circle for this circle here and covered it in the yellow the same way we've been doing it. And I went ahead and placed these, so we saw that in a video before, and they are actually stitched down. So this one is ready to go on here. We're not going to put it down. I just wanted to show you how that's going to look. We need to work on this piece, and we need to get the center pieces here as well. But we won't be putting that on until pretty close to the end, because these stems have to go underneath the scallop piece, and we want to make sure we get all those on there properly. So I'm just going to leave this on its pattern for now, and I have just pinned it to our project board so it won't go anywhere. And let me show you that. Here I've got our project board with all of our leaves where they're marked with the pattern piece so we don't mix them up. And then our pink pieces we need to work on, our yellow pieces we need to work on. And I don't have any more of the green ones done. I just had that one test. And then our paper template, our extra paper template that we're using just to keep track of everything, our pressing bars, and our vines. We've got some of these that are turned and pressed and some that are just sewed. So they're ready to go when we're ready to go. Everything's together. And so we've got a little bit of a preview of how this is going to come together. And I don't think that anything you saw here today would probably come as a complete surprise, other than we did need to adjust this one leaf And as we move on to this other leaf, I think we'll probably be able to adjust it just fine. It's sitting just beneath that, just the very point is underneath there. It's not a lot, it won't cause any bulging, but it is just enough area that we're going to be able to get both pieces in there without them touching. And we'll have to do that all the way around anytime you have two of those leaves coming together. A way that you could circumvent this is when you're making your leaves, if you look at this design and you see how close they are, is to make the leaves just a smidgen smaller. That would help you not have to adjust that as much. And I think when we made these, we traced them and we cut on the line. We didn't cut outside the line. We cut on the line. Probably if we had cut in just at the inside of the line, it would have made them just a little bit smaller. So you live and learn, something a little bit more that you learn each time you do something, so you know how to do it better the next time. So we're moving right along with this. We will be back next week with more information on this. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm trying to capture lots of things that I can sit down and do some hand sewing on. So I think that if I have a few minutes, I'll go ahead and do the hand sewing on those little pieces so we can get them in place. And then next week, we'll work on our other pieces. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you're enjoying this project. I think it's going to be really cute when we get it finished. If you would, please give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel. And of course, we'll see you next week at the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Bye.